All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Christian Kuntz Podcast. I'm here with my boys Vinny and Trey. We got Jesse behind the boards as always. Swing was actually working out with our guest today, so I'm kind of curious on how that went. Let's give it up for our guest Tyson Alualu. Yes, sir. Ty, how you feeling today, Ty?
Feeling good, man. Can't complain. Blessed, and just trying to take it one day at a time, and see what this day unfolds.
For sure. You're in Pittsburgh. You're from Honolulu, Hawaii, but you showed up. It's 30 degrees outside. You're in shorts and a t-shirt. So I'm starting to think you might be from Pittsburgh. You've been here forever now.
You're right. Feel like I've been here for a while, so adjusting to the cold. I love it though. I love being outside. If I'm not outside too long, I enjoy wearing shirt and shorts. Usually rocking some slippers, going to the stairs, going to stores, my bad.
What's like too long? 10 minutes? A whole workout?
Yeah.
I walk outside to take the trash out, and I'm like, this
Cold.
is too long.
No, see, I like that.
Right
If I'm taking the trash, going to the store, that's like easy. Anything over like 10 minutes, that's too long, yeah.
We always bring up, I bring up all the time. We've had players on that, don't play for the Steelers anymore, but I like when guys stick around and stay in Pittsburgh. And obviously you have a huge family here, but what kind of, minus your family, like, have you fallen in love with the city to stay here? Because you're from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I know you wouldn't mind going back there, but like, what made you kind of stay here?
I think the easy answer is the people.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier. I got friends here that stay here full time.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward, a lot of guys that, I train with. So in my normal routine, it's easy for me to, be around Pittsburgh. And like you said, growing up in Hawaii, I never got to experience the seasons, the 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Even though it's a lot longer here in Pittsburgh in the winter. But, it grew on me, and it's something that we enjoy, we love now. And I feel like Pittsburgh has become, our new home where we lay roots, not just me, but my kids, my family.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like, this is where we belong.
I love that. We had the Herbigs. We had Nick Herbig on from Hawaii. We had Fahoko on from Hawaii, and now we have the pleasure of having you on from Hawaii. And both of them talked about like the roots coming from there, and like how they were raised and the culture that was behind them and their family, and kind of how they got to where they're at. So, like, walk me through your family dynamic growing up, playing football, playing sports. I saw you were obviously one of the best players in Hawaii coming out, and then you went to Cal. But walk me through like going through your childhood football, growing up, your family there, Hawaii, the culture, everything.
Yeah, I come from a big family in Hawaii. Big family in general. My dad's siblings, my mom's siblings. So just in my own family, I got 7 sisters and 1 brother.
Oh my gosh.
So, growing up, it was always, I'm used to being around so many people. And like, even though that was just our household, we grew up with cousins. So it's almost like every day, every night, we sleeping with 20 plus people, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how, I grew up, part of our upbringing. So it's always loud, it's always busy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Now a lot of football is big in Hawaii, so I grew up wanting to be just like my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever high school he went to, like that's where I wanted to go. Whatever college he went to, and I think that's where my love for the sport of football started.
Yeah.
Seeing him and trying to watch his games, watch his highlights, and I feel like I don't only speak for me, but like my entire family. Like that's who we idolized. That's who that was like our sports hero, who we wanted to be like. So
who was your uncle? Did he end up playing in the league? Who was your uncle that you're talking about?
Yeah, my uncle. No, he played at CFL.
CFL?
And I don't think it was too long, but he played. He went to the University of Oregon and then transferred and played back for Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
And had a little stint.
I love
CFL.
that. Hey,
How long ago was this? Like, what year was he at Hawaii?
Maybe like late 90s, 2000s.
Okay. I was just saying, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time was Colt Brennan, R.I.P.
Yeah.
He was there for that. He was like the original swagger QBs.
Right.
That was crazy. That was a crazy pull
Colt
there,
Brennan,
Vinny.
man.
Brennan,
Rest in
dude,
peace, man.
That whole era of Ken Dorsey, just swagged out quarterbacks. I feel it was influenced by Vic when he
he
had
started
that crazy deal, and then I was just curious if you played.
I
with
feel
him,
like now I'm kind of showing my age because that was when I was in college. I was in college when Colt Brennan was the man, and he was obviously graduating when I got there. But so my uncle was a lot before that time. But Colt Brennan, man, is definitely a Hawaii legend, and what he did both on the field and off the field. So.
Did you always play? You didn't always play D-line. Weren't you playing running back?
Yeah.
Did I read some of
that's why I say I idolized my uncle. My uncle was a running back at the high school that we went to, and then played running back in college. And up until I got to high school, I thought I was going to be a running back, and I wanted to be the one that played running back, went to college, and then finished it in the NFL. Stuff that he didn't end up doing.
Yeah.
So, but. When I got to high school, the coaches said I was too big to play running back.
And showing them film of Jerome Bettis every day. Like, dude, check it out.
Right.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be me in the NFL, but, they had different plans, and, I guess it worked out for me.
Yeah, it worked out pretty nice, I'd say. But so going to Cal, coming out of high school, what kind of influenced you to go to Cal? Being closer to home, I guess, right?
Yeah, so
semi.
I feel like for me, the top two came down to Hawaii and Cal. And Hawaii wasn't very good when I was coming out, but it was the fact that I would be able to play in front of my family, in front of everybody that would be able to come to support and watch the games. That's, that made it interesting to me.
Yeah.
But even going there on my recruiting trip, there was people that I've seen play in Hawaii and do well for themselves in high school, and then kind of fall off of that train going to University of Hawaii, and kind of that being the end of their road as far as football.
It's funny you said that because Fehoko kind of said a similar thing when he was on about the people in Hawaii, how. It's great to stay home and play, but at the same time, sometimes you feel trapped and you want to get out and make your own way and then come back and be like, look, I got out of Hawaii, I came back, and I made it. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, for me, it was people that I respected. So it was there's I feel like you can do better if you venture out and go, a lot of our talents, we're built very similar. So if we all went to that school, it's harder to stand out.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something different about you and your game if you take it to the Pac-12. If you go somewhere else other than staying home, that you might have a better opportunity. And, that stuck with me, and, it kind of made the decision to go to Cal a lot easier, understanding if the end goal is to get to the NFL, this might be a better path. And no, I'm thankful and grateful for it. But as far as picking Cal to school, I think they sold me on the dream of if you come to Cal and you get a degree from here, you can do
anything.
Yeah, anything you want. This is the top public school in the world. And then at the time, when I was getting recruited, it was Aaron Rodgers last year. So it was
they were balling.
They beat USC. Yeah. It was the up and coming dogs to take over.
Oh, wow. That's sweet. I love that. Rodgers was balling at Cal.
Yeah, he was
there with Marshawn Lynch, right?
Yeah.
Were they together?
Yeah, they were.
That's the only era of football that I know, to be honest with you. Early 2000s, I feel like I was fully – I always talk to Jesse about it. Ask me anything from 2000 to 2005. I'll tell you their stat line. But this year, I have no idea. So I love having these conversations because that was the era of football that made me fall in love with the sport.
Yeah.
And to hear you saying you were heavily influenced by those same people is and we were on the other side of the country. So
right.
You guys actually, I don't know if you could speak to this too, because going to Duquesne, going to Pitt, you went to college in your backyard. So you kind of did the opposite thing of like not staying home and going out. Like, were there other places that you guys were considering that, and why did you end up? But dude, I know you had injuries and stuff, but like
I didn't have very many options.
Yeah,
I mean, I was getting recruited.
I feel like that wasn't me.
No, it's fun. No. I know you weren't. I know you weren't. No, I know you weren't taking a shot. I didn't have very many options, but I love where I ended up. Obviously, I'm Duquesne proud, but Trey can obviously speak a little different. He was a little highly recruited than I was.
At the end of the day, bro, like they're living the dream and I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So, but
still living
for
the dream.
me, bro, like I don't know. I had Michigan State. I had Temple. I had Toledo. I had all the MAC schools.
You're living the dream, dude.
Yeah, you are.
Look around you.
Yeah, right.
No, you guys were cool, but like,
It's like, oh, my first dream.
Hey, listen,
My first dream was a little different.
I don't want to be that guy, but like the money I would have received, you know what I'm saying, compared to what I'm receiving right now, like,
bro, you've already received it.
Man, listen, you can tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself. But the opportunity I had was I was probably going to go to Michigan State if I didn't go to Pitt. That was my stuck in between. But I wanted to ask you specifically, man, you talked about your uncle being the guy of the family because everybody wanted to look up to, but you're actually the one who made it the furthest. So I know you now have that responsibility. So what does that feel like?
It feels great, to be honest. Just thinking about my family, like my grandpa, when I got drafted, like my dad told me a story of like my grandpa coming up to him and just sharing like, man, your son was the one that did it. Like we always thought this was going to be the guy to, put our family on the map.
Right.
Or this was the next great in our family to represent Alualu, our last name, and make them proud. But to be the first one to do it is definitely a blessing, but it's like, it's in vain if I'm not doing my part and trying to give back to my family, whether it's my time or sacrificing to show them that this is possible.
Right.
And the thing is, it's not just me, but it's like everybody in Hawaii. You always want to be able to get to that level and turn around and help pull people behind so that they can have the same opportunities that I am, living out my dream, playing this game, but just having this platform to do so much things.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask too. So now that you're a father now and you're raising a son that's also chasing a similar dream, can you speak in like the experience of that transition where it's like you lived it, you've done it, you represented for all of your family, your where you grew up, but now it's a little bit of a shift because now you can. What's it like guiding as somebody that made it in the league to now have a son that's potentially going through that route? Because you're seeing a lot of guys pop up now, especially this past year or so. It's like all the guys that we grew up, watching, their kids are now playing too. So like,
how are their kids in the league?
Right. It's insane. So what's that like feel like now that you've done it, you have the path, you're now guiding them, and can you speak to that, like what that position has shifted like for you?
Yeah, I feel like it's just real different.
Right.
But it comes with huge responsibility because he probably grew up a lot different than I did.
Right.
A lot different than all my family back home. So it's a responsibility that I'm trying to instill in him.
Right.
Like all these values that I was taught coming from the neighborhoods, not being raised or grew up how he's grown up. So it's like, how do I do my job as a parent, trying to instill like the same values that you get out of just being hungry, and just trying to live out not my dreams, but like if this is something that he's passionate about, like how do I do my job as a parent to help in the best way possible?
Yeah. Do you feel like it's sorry, I just want to ask this real quick, but do you just feel like it's a double-edged sword? Like, and do you think it leans more on the better side? Because exactly what you're talking to is what I wanted to kind of dive into. He's living a life that's different from yours, maybe not as hungry or like, and that's not to take anything away from his motivation. I'm sure it has to be there, especially, being raised by someone like yourself. So are you seeing that it's more beneficial because now you get to kind of say, hey, watch out for this when you got this coming through? Like, you get offers coming in and there's so much you could prepare for essentially. Right. Do you feel like it leans more on the good side, or is it, because there's that dynamic where, these some of the kids have everything right out the gate, and, you're going to kind of try to operate with knowing that.
I think it comes down to balance. I feel like there's pros and cons that come with it. I feel like I've always, everything that I did at this level, as far as like workouts, I feel like I always try to bring him along, not just to show him like what I'm doing, because he see that on the daily, but what other greats are doing. So like, when he come around, he see
not everybody has
he
that.
see TJ, he show Minka and like how they work or how they carry themselves at this level and the amount of work that they're putting in.
Yeah.
So I just try to expose him to that as early as I can, to like show him, what it's like to play, or even like to be these guys, superstars at this level, like the amount of sacrifice and work it takes to be who they are.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's a balance, because he sees these things, and I feel like I'm reiterating it over and over, but sometimes it's different coming from the dad, the dad's perspective, and seeing it come, or even just a little comment that he might get from Cam or TJ. It's different coming from
valuable.
them.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's, that's where the balance comes from.
Right.
So with that said, though, because I feel like this is like a LeBron situation, because I know you still chasing the dream as well. So like, is there an opportunity that you and your son end up on the field together at some point? Y'all both play on defense, so I'm just, I'm putting 1 and 1 together, and that equals 2. So like, what is we doing?
We're back to Temple right now.
That sounds great. That sounds like a dream, and that would be a dream come true. But in all reality, I don't see that happening. I just hope that I can do my part as a parent, as his dad, to help him navigate and try and reach his dream. And it's his turn to live that out. Right. I mean, he's seen what it takes, or he's seen people from every level, from high school, college, and the pros. So just trying to do my part to help lead and guide, challenge, encourage him to live it out himself.
Sure.
Love that. You talk about, your big family, that you 7 sisters and 1 brother, and you have your own. You have 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
When did you have your first?
What was that? I was 18.
Yeah. So when did you meet your wife? Because you guys were together in college, weren't you? Or before that? Was that before that? And then you've obviously been through, this whole journey together. So I kind of want to, give my kudos to her. But
right.
Like, when did that start with your wife? And then, this whole family, like you had your son at 18, and then you got drafted, and like a bunch of just crazy life events. Like, how did that, going through that with your wife, and like, how long were you guys together, and just walk me through that whole relationship?
Yeah, it's really cool. You never think about like our own journey.
It's crazy.
Whether it's like me and my wife, or just having a kid at 18, and like how our journey began. So me and my wife started dating sophomore year, going into high school. Yep.
Wow, dude.
Sophomore year in high school, and that's kind of where our journey started. And then our senior year, she got pregnant with Ray, and
best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, for sure, man.
It's amazing.
And then went to college. So I went to Cal, and I was, everything. It was just a big culture shock for me. Yeah. Like going from Hawaii to California, and in Berkeley, it was weird for me at the time. Like there was so much hippies and people protesting and stuff that I wasn't used to. So I was like homesick. I was lovesick. I just wanted to like be back with my family. So I was like, I got to get out of here. I was like, I'm a transfer. I'm going back home. And I went back home, and the coaches called my dad. They was like, please bring him back.
And you were really ready to just go back home.
I was ready to quit. Like I was like, I need to go play
at home with my family.
Back home. Yeah. And I need that family support. And I don't know, everybody goes through that in college, but
for sure.
Like you have a baby at home during this time, correct?
Yeah.
So
they're back home.
That's a whole other level of just like leaving.
Yeah. So she was pregnant. I went for summer school, and they was telling me, they was like, hey, this summer bridge thing, this is not like school. It was like the hardest thing I ever did as far as school. There was like 10-page papers. I was like, man, I'm not trying to do this. First of all, I don't like it here. And so everything that they was doing, like in school stuff, the training, spring ball, you guys know, that was my first experience of college football. So I was like, man, get me out of here. I went back home. And then my dad brought me back, and they sat down. They was like, you know what, you can take this first year fall off. Like, you can go back home, get everything situated. And because this was before Ray was born. So she was pregnant. Yeah. Ray was born in November. Wow. So I went back. They was like, go home, come back in spring, and then we'll start from there. Wow. And that's kind of how. Yeah, that was love. That was love, man. I appreciated that.
I mean, man, dude, that's a huge piece to that story, right?
That
like,
is.
If they don't allow you to, like, you know, hey, we're gonna have this spot for you when you come back, like, so.
Do you know who, like was it your head coach that?
Yeah, it was my head coach.
So
Jeff Tedford.
Good for him. That's,
you know, I mean, that meant everything to me. It meant more to my dad that they wanted that commitment, because I went thinking I'm going to tell them, I'm transferring back home, like it's over. I'm not coming to Cal. Right. And they was like, whatever you need, man. If you like need to go back home, get married, come back with your son and your wife. And that's like, for me, that's what I seen the picture as, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start my journey back with my wife and my son and see where that takes us. So you know, that meant everything to me, and that kind of, you know, started our college journey as a family there at Cal.
So Ray seen everything for real.
He did.
Ray went to Cal.
Ray just at two parties. We just took down USC.
Ray played at Cal, now he's playing at Temple.
Right, like that's crazy.
Wow. That is wild. That's an amazing story.
So he's been through it too. That was he's like, dude, I remember
he was born into that whole college atmosphere.
Wow. So he had no choice. I mean, that's what it was. He had no choice.
All right, so go ahead, Jesse.
I just want to ask real quick. So is it important for you, kind of tying in what you were also saying about, you know, how, you know, the pride of your culture and family, a lot of people don't really leave there because of the fear of, like, you know, you go through that crazy culture shock where you're like, this is not what I was signing up for, you know, with just, you know, being in California. So is it important for you to, like, go back home and be like, guys, listen, like, there is other opportunities out here. This is how, you know, you kind of get through that maneuver. You can go out there, make something, and come back. Like, is that a part of your, you know, is that something you're proud of, like, wanting to do? You know, is it something you, like, look into going back home?
I feel like it is, but I feel also with how things have been going, like with people that are from Hawaii, just the Polynesian culture in general, I feel like a lot of people already showed
it's growing
that, like, hey, you can go wherever you want now. Because when I was coming out, it was like, you know, where do I feel comfortable? Right. And California was one.
Oregon.
But like all the, like Utah, it's like, where do I have my Polynesian community?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I can still feel like home, even though I'm not home. But now, a lot of examples of people like the Herbigs. They went to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, dude, I can speak to that just from a level of. I always tell these guys. I went to West Liberty, which is a Division II school. My head coach was Polynesian. We would have like 20 or 30 kids from California or the islands every season, bro, to the point we're in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. We're doing like the haka dance to like come on the field. I'm not kidding, bro. I'm not kidding.
White ass doing haka.
What's the one? It would be like me, the
mealy.
Like, we would do that shit and take the field in Wheeling, West Virginia, and play like
what the fuck going on?
That's funny, man.
But like, it's true. They would come there because they could find a community of other Polynesians, and
I'm kind of jealous about the the culture, because like it's so tight knitted, and like I feel like, and also like the Polys are. They're bad. Like, you guys are badass. Like, they'll run through a motherfucker's face.
Oh yeah.
Like every single poly will just, if you hit a poly, they got a steel rod in their back. Like, I'm serious.
That's a fact.
Yep.
And like, guys will attest to that. And I told this story before, and I repeat stories because I'm telling new guests when I talk. But we were in training camp, and we were sitting outside of Rooney Hall on the the little stair there, and it was like Mike T, Vince, Shea, a couple coaches. Grady was out there, and they were talking about, these Polynesian players, and they were talking about some guy that played in Seattle. I guess he's
a rugby player that
he would just run down on kickoff and like he would knock himself out and knock the other guy out and be done. Like that was it. And Mike T was telling the story, and they're like, dude, every game he would fly down on kickoff and it would trade 1-for-1 and knock somebody out. And like I guess Shea like tried him one game. This was like, and Mike T was like, why? And Shea got knocked out of the game. Not like his first ever game on kickoff. Like,
really?
Knocked out. And Mike T was like, yo, we just traded Shea for this like fullback Pauly guy that only plays special teams that just kills people. But like he was like saying that the guy would knock one guy out every game.
Is that why we have these kickoff rules that are
probably because the Pauly guys?
For sure. I will say this though, like I do love the one thing about your culture is you're such a tight knit family. No matter where you go, it doesn't matter if you actually know the people yourself, right? Yeah. Like you understand, like yo, if we're from the same community, like I still got love, right? So like. I was talking to you and your son the other day and was just saying, bro, like you guys have a real opportunity to bring a culture to Pittsburgh that genuinely just doesn't have this culture. Like, and if we do it, it's because you play a sport or it's because that they're trying to come here and try something different. We talked about my boy, you know what I'm saying, that played with me at Pitt as well, bro. The coolest guy I've ever met in my entire life, right? But at the same time, if you mess with one of his people, he's the last guy you want to fight. Like I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really cool to see that you guys stayed here and you're sticking here, man. Because at the end of the day, bro, like, people come and go all the time. You know what I mean? And it's cool to see your kids growing and coming through the system. I'm pretty sure NA is going to have a long time family because you got a bunch of boys, right?
Yeah.
You have any girls?
4 boys, 2 girls.
Man,
NA is about to be easy.
NA's a cheat code. That's why I don't like NA. They be cheating. They be getting guys like him and taking their kids.
Exactly.
When I first came to Steelers, there's like, oh, you got kids. Yeah, it'll be perfect. You could go live in Wexford and your kids will play for North Allegheny. So I was like, oh, perfect. Looked them up.
I'm starting to recruit. I'm going to start recruiting guys. Cause
Elizabeth Forward.
No,
pipeline
we're not
to the league.
Sorry. I'm sorry about EF. We're not going to EF.
On, dude.
I'm going to start recruiting, though, for the South Hills.
For who? Mount Lebo? Ain't going to happen.
Char Valley.
Not damn sure not going to happen. You think he's going to Char Valley?
We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, my goodness.
Ty, I want to talk about, after Cal, you got drafted in the first round to Jacksonville. What was, like, the draft process like for you, your family, and getting that call? Like, what was that all like? Crazy.
It was awesome, man. Like with how things played out for me, just very emotional and just thankful that I got to experience not just me but my whole family, church family, because we did it right at our church, and our church is in the middle of the neighborhood, so it's like everybody could come. Everybody was there.
Oh, that's lit.
They set up like right outside the church, just a few TVs. They had the volleyball net going, bouncers. So it's like everybody was there, and it just felt like a community gathering. You know what I mean? And we was all watching. I didn't know where I was going to be drafted because the draft process was crazy. Like just talking to so many people of like, what to expect. There was people telling me that I was like, I had a 2nd round grade and I went in the 7th round. People were saying I got 3rd, 4th round and I went undrafted. So like talking to all these people, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of stressing me out because like here I'm hearing things or like, oh, you might go 2nd to like latest 4th. That's what they were telling me. And then just getting closer and closer to draft after I participated in the Senior Bowl, I think things started to like rise for me. Right? I started to climb up boards where people started to notice. And so they were saying late 1st, guaranteed 2nd. Like there's like, that's your range of like where you're going to get drafted. And then here we are. I wasn't even, to be honest, the first day I wasn't even like expecting to like go in the 1st round. Like I was like, wherever God places me, that's where I'm supposed to be. So like, just so that it could take off the stress of like, man, the anticipation of like what team is going to pick me. Right. I was like, just kind of just left it up
Give it to God.
To God's hand, bro. Left it in his hands, and the rest is history. And here I am watching the draft on TV and still can't even imagine. It was like pick 9, I think. I got the call from Jacksonville, and
oh my God,
I don't even know who I'm talking to. Like, I think they put the scout on the phone. That he's like, oh, I remember you at Cal. Like he was like talking about like who he's related to. So I'm like, oh, this is not a draft call. So my family is like, who is that? Who is it? Like trying to find out like who's on the phone. And I'm like, oh, this is the Jags. And they're like looking, they're like, they're next. And then like everybody's like starting to go crazy. Like the talks are like louder. I'm trying to like listen. Like he's like, oh, we're gonna give the phone. I think we'll draft you. And then when it was announced with the 10th pick, and once they said my name, man, my whole family went nuts. It was just I couldn't even hear anything. Like they're like yelling, they're like telling me stories. When I get there, there was like we could just hear a bunch of singing in the background. Like I think they started singing worship music. Like they started praying, but. Man, like it didn't get better than that.
Right.
Like seeing my whole family.
You reflect on that because I heard this story before that you thought you were going to go in the 4th and you ended up being a first round, which is crazy. Like we always hear the stories of the guys that think they're going to go 1, 2, and then they end up getting undrafted. So what the flip side of your story is a great one. So like, what does that feel like? I mean, I know you said you just gave it up to like, God and just wherever you're meant to be. But, like, that has to feel insane where you're showing up to this, like, draft party, essentially, where you're like, I might go 3 days from now. But, no, it's like you went on the first round. So, like, what's that like? Because we don't hear that story.
I don't know if you might be talking about when I had the interview with Moats.
Yes,
that was my junior year.
Yeah, okay.
So my junior year, after the season, they told me I have a 4th round grade.
Right.
And to me, that sounded great.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm going to come out right now. Like, my coach is telling me, like, hey, next year, this going to be your year. Like, but hearing a 4th round grade, to me, I was like, oh, that's amazing. I'm going to take that chance. Yeah. Let me get out of school so I can go play in the league.
Yeah.
So that's where that 4th round
that's where I got it from.
But
that leads me to why did you decide to come back? Like, who talked you into coming back? And, I mean, thank God they did. Now you were a first round.
Yeah.
And then a follow-up question to this before, because I don't want to forget. Everybody, dude, I love this.
This is the best I've seen you do in a while, so I'm happy, right?
Yeah, you're fired up.
I'm just grateful to be, like, in these conversations, to be honest with you. But now you made me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry. Love you.
So you were asking.
We always talk to people, and they say, I was supposed to be first or second round. We just talked to Trice last week, and he said, but then I felt like I didn't have anything to, or like, I didn't have like an expectation. I just showed up and I was like over. You had the flip of that where like now you have the pressure of like, dude, first round pick. Like talk about the weight of that, and like when you stayed for that extra year, like what did that build for you for that moment?
Yeah, I don't think when I heard that fourth round grade, like to me that sounded great, but I knew I was going back to school.
So you already had made that.
Yeah, I already knew, like talking to my coaches and just where I was, I knew I wasn't ready for it. Like even though they gave me that grade off of just like how I played, I was like, I know there's more. Like,
is that the same coaching staff that was there when they gave you the fall off, like to come back after your son was born?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, dude, these guys were really honest with you. You're in like
your whole career.
So this it was really my D-line coach. So when I first got to Cal, when I was recruited, he was a senior. And then when I got to Cal, like because I sat out that fall, like he was actually playing. When I came back, he was the GA. And then for that first year, the next year, he ended up being my D-line coach. And he was like my big brother. Now he's at Oregon. He's the DC doing his thing. But he's been all around. He's been at Alabama. He been coaching for a long time. He came to the league and then went back to college. But that's like the big bro that like he'll shoot it straight. He's like, hey, we got a lot of work to do. And
that's your brother. That ain't your coach.
Yeah, that's your brother. That's actually solid that you had someone like similar in age kind of being able to guide you like, dude, you're going to go in the first round. You stay one more year or whatever. You already knew. But what is it like now that you've obviously played a decade plus in the league and you were a first-round pick, like looking back on it, like what does that mean to you to be a first-round pick? Like I couldn't even fathom. Like, dog, you were drafted 10th overall.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. Like how does that sit in your mind? Like how does your kids, what do they think of that now that they're like old enough to like comprehend like, dude, my dad was fucking top 10 pick in the NFL. Right. Like how does that even comprehend with your mind, your kid's mind, everybody in your family? fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's
really crazy, dude.
It's still crazy to me that like tell people that like a lot of people like who don't know who I am, they're like, man, you went in the first round. What pick? And I said 10. They're like, you was top 10. And like to me, I'm not saying like I'm downplaying that.
You're
but
used to it.
I am used to like saying it or telling people that yeah. But for me, it's like it's an opportunity to show and say how God has blessed my life. Like
right.
Truly undeserving to, be able to play this game as long as I did. And then to say that, I was a first round draft pick. Like, how many guys beyond the pride that I have in myself? Like, it's my whole family that I'm trying to like
for sure
put on for. You know what I mean? Like my grandpa, my uncles, my cousins, everybody that played that didn't get to this level. Like I did it for us, and even that's how I felt on draft day when I was with everybody. And I'm like, man, we did it together. This is awesome. That saying where it takes a village. There's so many people that was at my draft. Was there with me on draft day that like had a big impact on making me the person and player I am. Like people that took me to Little League football, people that made sacrifices so that I could go to that high school and play where my uncle played, just the rich tradition and history that came with. But just so much gratitude.
How many people from Hawaii have been drafted in the first round, let alone in the top 10? Are you the only one? I mean, Manti Teo?
No, Manti had some things going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he didn't get drafted. Okay, yeah.
I mean, not fell off as a player, but just some stuff
boards.
going off.
When did Tua
off
go?
the field?
Tua was first round. Yeah, it had to be, right?
Yeah, Tua went first.
Did Mariota go first?
I guess that was a dumbass question by me.
There's a lot of people that did it.
Like and of them were
like,
what about?
You guys just rattled off 3 off the bat. I'm sitting here.
I was thinking too, though, dude. I was like, actually, let's figure this out.
There's literally 2 active quarterbacks right now that went Mariota and Tua.
I think that our first round pick on the Steelers is
Troy?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was fucking cut that.
It's a good thought.
I got a question. Everything is an easy question.
Damn.
No, but like the one thing I've noticed is like I had to do a project in college basically on the Hawaiian culture and the Polynesian culture. And the one thing that I noticed was the tattoos, right? Like what they represent and then why it's so necessary in certain circumstances. So I also see that you have a lot of tribal work done. So like, tell me what it means, because I feel like a lot of people see it and say they want it, but they don't actually understand what it means to wear it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of pride and history of, our people. And, that's the reason why we put it on our skin, to represent. But ultimately, I feel like it tells a journey of, what you've been through, what your family's been through,
right?
Where you come from. But like, it just comes down to like my family and my culture. This is like what I represent. And wherever I go, no matter where I am, whether on the West Coast, on the East Coast, in the islands, I represent my people. And I feel like, we take a lot of pride in that. Like you guys talk about your appreciation for the culture and what we stand for. I think that's just the basis of who we are.
Right.
We want to be a people that love hard and take a lot of pride in where we come from and who we are, and we hope that we do our job in sharing our culture. And having other people that are not of Polynesian descent appreciate it.
Right. That's dope, man.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, do you feel any type of way when you see like somebody that has no connections getting that, or is that like a pride? Like, does that make you happy to see it? But some random white dude like me got it. Like, how you feeling? I give you the pass to be upset. So I'm curious.
I don't think I get upset. I feel like it
good,
has to
because
come.
If Vinny took a sweater off, he's got fucking try.
I feel like it comes with the story of
it's like early 2000s.
People,
I'm so
white
curious
trash
to know.
trauma,
Yeah, I see it as appreciation for the culture.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as disrespect.
Yeah.
Because I think when people get it, it comes with a story of like, oh, why did you get it?
Yep.
Right.
And whether if you've been in Hawaii or you've been around Polynesian people, it had that effect on you. And I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
On like from my eyes, seeing you guys appreciate it.
Right.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's get into your pro journey. We talked about draft day and everything. You got drafted to Jacksonville. Were they struggling at that time? Because obviously they went through their times with, I don't know what year Maurice Jones-Drew was and Leftwich. I remember when they beat the Steelers in the playoffs. That was early 2000s.
That was early.
Gerard.
Yep.
And then
what was that like getting drafted to Jacksonville? Were they struggling? Did you play right away? And how was your whole adjustment into the NFL? Coming from Hawaii, now you went from Hawaii, California, now you're Florida. So what was that all like?
Yeah, it was cool. I think they were on the rebuild year.
Yeah.
They had a young team, but still with some veteran presence.
Mhm.
I think Maurice Jones-Drew was maybe in year 4 or 5. They had, Mercedes Lewis.
Oh yeah.
So they were the OGs, but they were only year 4 or 5 in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? David Gerard was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I caught Gerard later in his career, at the end of his career. I mean, so they were a team that were looking to get some pieces and try and take over the AFC South.
Yeah.
So I came in and definitely started and played right away.
Oh wow.
And I think I played besides Terrence Knighton, who they drafted the year before. He was out of Temple. Pot Roast. It was his nickname in the league.
He was a beast.
Pot Roast.
Yeah.
Pot Roast.
Yeah.
So we was both the interior D tackles, and I think they said they drafted me to try and be the 2 D tackles that could
Stop everything.
Yeah.
Stop the run, rush the
were
passer.
you there with John Henderson?
Oh
No.
my
So
God.
John Henderson,
Dude.
he
That video is my favorite sports video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, Joe.
Slap.
Slap
Yep,
me in the
yep.
mouth.
Tossing
He was always
blood.
around Jacksonville. He always came to the building, so we seen him around the city a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that dude was crazy, man. He was on another level. So I think he either retired or became a free agent, and that's the year I came in.
Oh wow.
So that's where it started.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. John Henderson, that video is all over
So
social
good.
media at all times.
Right.
Come on, Joe.
Yeah.
Harder. I'm like, damn. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's the shit I'm talking about. And he waddles out.
Yeah,
That's just crazy.
He throw in that video. He gets smacked in the mouth by probably a regular sized man. He's
Right.
he's 2 times his size, and then the way he pushes that door and it almost goes through the wall is insane. And then you have in that tunnel. We always watch this video. In the tunnel, you got the O line and D line,
Right.
kind of oh, here he
Getting out
comes.
his way.
Go
That's
through
a big
John.
human being.
Yeah,
man.
it's crazy. It's
So
crazy.
I watch a lot of football, man. I watch a lot of tape, man, and I watched some of your game before we got on this pod today. So I want to know, in your personal opinion, what would you say, other than yourself, right? You're your own comp, but who would you kind of resemble some of your game after? Who did you grow up watching? Who did you like watching? Because I know you said you wanted to be a running back, but making that transition in defense, you had to learn something from somebody.
Yeah. So I mean, when I was younger, like I said, I only watch running backs, linebackers, because that's who I thought I was going to be
Right,
at that level. I'm like, oh yeah, when I get there, I'm going to be a bigger running back.
Right.
So I watched a lot of Priest Holmes, Emmitt Smith, those were my guys. But
That's
when I started playing D-line, I started seeing Reggie White, how he played,
Yeah.
bigger body at defensive end.
One hand.
Right.
Out the clip.
Yeah.
Tossing people. But when I got to college and started watching film of what I might play at this level, it was the Steelers defense.
Wow.
So I watched, it was Aaron Smith,
Kiesel.
Casey Hampton.
and
Casey.
if you watch any of my film back in college, I was doing the stance where my feet is this wide, hand barely on the ground, and playing that 3-4 defense.
Right.
Because we switched when I got to college. from a 4-3, I was a D tackle.
Okay.
And then went 3-4, and I was the big end.
Wow. So you went from a nose to an end, or?
So I played D tackle and D end like when I first got there.
Okay.
So it was just bouncing between that. But then when we switched to a 3-4, I was just full-time end. And I'll come in and pass rush over the center, over the guard. But yeah, I was mainly an end in that 3-4 defense. So I watch a lot of film on that little frog stance that they used to do and try to emulate like what, how they played it. And there was a lot of like quick hands coming out of your hips.
You know how crazy it is that every single time you bring somebody on here, it all comes full circle. Like, he emulated his game after the Steelers and played on the Steelers, which is crazy. Like, Trice said that his family was some part of the Steelers as well. So, like, a lot of these guys, like, some way, somehow, you watched from afar, you seen it, and now you guys are on the team or played for the team. That's crazy to me. God works in mysterious ways.
I feel like a lot of Steelers players, past and present, are very influential in, like, what younger kids look at.
For sure.
Just because, like, the Steeler brand is obviously one of the biggest in the world. Probably, if not the biggest in the world, like Yankees, Steelers, Cowboys.
Right.
What other sports teams are we really talking? Maybe the New York Knicks. I don't know. Maybe Lakers,
Celtics.
whatever. But like, I feel like the Steelers produce players that are pretty influential in like what kids watch and how they try to emulate their game after.
I feel like it's like a generational thing.
Right.
Like, who's dominating right now? Like for our era, it was always the Steelers,
right?
Niners, Cowboys,
right?
Yeah. Like even back in Hawaii, you'll go and like that's like the whole fan base off of those three teams and Pittsburgh,
right?
I feel like now the younger kids are like the Chiefs, Rams, these teams that are like coming up now that are doing good. So
that is what it is. Like, do you go to a high school basketball game around here and there's like every time you'll see one kid's wearing a Chiefs jersey.
Guaranteed.
It's like, I didn't see that growing up.
No.
Nah.
Like, when you go to high school hoop games, like, if there was jerseys being worn, it was a Steelers jersey.
For sure.
Can we tell a quick story of, I know you were there. I know you take it personal when you see that, too, because when we met, the day we met, we were playing dodgeball at Charlie Batch's foundation.
Yeah.
That's
Tell the story, yeah.
Let's hear it.
So we walk in.
There's nothing against the player. Yeah. Of course. Because he's phenomenal.
This is how I knew you were a Yinzer through and through.
I was
like
pissed.
It was personal. We walk in, there's all these kids, man. It's a summer program. Like, they're just, like, loving on these kids, giving them opportunities to learn new sports. We showed up to play pickleball. And
I whooped Christian's ass.
There was something wrong with the we need to play again soon. The paddles I think didn't come in time or something.
Yeah.
So we decided to play dodgeball instead.
Right.
But when he comes in, first thing he notices, dude, it's not even like, hi guys, what, like, dude, points this kid wearing a Lamar Jackson jersey. He goes, what's up with the jersey?
You knew we was coming today.
So the kid's like, hi Christian, like just like embarrassed, like probably had no idea we were coming through. Dude, we go to play dodgeball and it's like us 5 or 6 people. Charlie's in the middle. We're like, should we throw? Like, should we like, these kids are in like middle school, high school. And he's like, dude,
throw it.
Light their ass up.
Like, so, first throw, Christian, dude, I think you like pro hopped it.
I did.
And just like launched this thing. And like the sea of kids, there's like 40 kids. The sea of kids just parted. And it was just that kid with the Lamar jersey. And dude, the ball just
headshot.
Hit him right square in the face.
Like, it was so perfect.
Yeah. And then that was the start of the game.
He was like crying. He sat out. He was like crying.
Wow.
Yeah.
I said, get out. Yeah. Get out of here.
Take that jersey off.
He came back in. He sat in the corner the rest of the game.
If that kid's listening. He's in. You get to come in and be a guest on the podcast. Like we'll for real
sure.
because
For
that
sure.
kid didn't deserve that.
Man, that's funny. That was funny.
2017 rolls around. You finally you signed with the Steelers. What was that like coming from Jacksonville? You were signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, you were probably pretty fired up. Obviously, you said you grew up in our area. The Steelers were dominant, and so what was that like signing here? And obviously getting to play with one of your best friends, Cam, now. Who's a Hall of Famer, no question. So, what was that like?
I came to visit Pittsburgh, not expecting to sign here, because I was coming 2017. I was trying to look for a prove-it deal. a 1 year.
Yeah.
And at that time, Steelers
they didn't do
that.
No.
Unless they're signing you for the minimum, they're not signing anybody for 1 year deals so that they have to pay you again the following year. You know how they are. But so I came just because my agent told me, like, hey, Pittsburgh is interested. This is a good spot for you. I'm like, all right, I'll take the visit. And I came here, visit. First coach I met with was the D-line coach, John Mitchell.
Coach Mitch, wow.
He put on the film before. It was like, oh, this is where we see you. We need you to, help out our D-line.
Yeah.
We can see you playing D tackle or DN. But I came on the trip with Ray. Ray was in 5th grade, I think, at the time. And we left that meeting thinking, like, man, this is a great place to play. Like, I would want to play for this coach. You know what I mean? He was like the old school.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, like the same film that I watched back in the day is like the same defense that was running like to this day.
Yes.
Like now it's like tweaked a little bit, but it was like the same play calls that you heard on NFL films, dog rush. They're still calling the same thing, but it was like I left that meeting. I'm like, man, this is the coach in a team organization that I want to play for. And the rest is history. I came out of that meeting, talked to Coach T, Kevin Colbert, and it was a no-brainer. Like, I canceled the meetings after that I had set up after that, and I was like, I'm coming here.
Was Mike T a big reason for that, or was it more like, okay, Mike T, but majority how I kind of interacted with Coach Mitch at that time?
Yeah, definitely Mike T. Man,
every guy wants to play.
Everybody respects him from afar, whether you like know him personally or just see him on TV or just how he interact with his players. Yes. Everybody respects and want that player's coach. But it was just after talking to him, and he always say, no, it doesn't matter by what means you get here. You gotta put your hand in the pile.
He ain't kidding.
Yeah.
He ain't kidding about that.
And, I respect so much, like, all the coaches that they have here.
Yeah.
But definitely Mike T a lot for, what he's done for my career and signing here and playing for the Steelers.
For sure.
And I'm just, just so much gratitude, man, just to be able to suit up in the black and gold.
That is amazing to me, bro. Like, for the kids who are watching this, like, because you're a first-rounder, 10th pick, and you went undrafted, but you both got the same opportunity, right? Like, there's a lot of kids who think that the only way that they can get into this league or get into this opportunity is by going in the first round or going in the top 5, right? But I have a lot of young guys that I still talk to that I played with, right? And I still talk to your son every once in a while, and it's just like, it doesn't matter how you get there, just get there, right? Yeah. Because, like, once you're there, if your hard work is real, like, you're a real hard worker, you'll be there. If not, well, then your ass is going to be sitting on the couch with me. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. So, like, I think it's really cool for whoever's watching this. Like, look at the dynamic and see the dynamic because you can have an opportunity. It's just whatever your path is your path.
100%.
I think it comes down to, like, the mindset that you have.
There it is.
And commitment. Like, a lot of people want to be an NFL player or get to this level. But
everybody does. Yeah.
Like, you don't know the amount of work and sacrifice, especially, like, you talk about the dynamics. Like, because I was a first rounder, I might have more of an opportunity, to sustain this career. You come in as an undrafted player, like, all odds are against you.
Right.
But, like, I've seen it throughout the years. Like, how much are you willing to put into this to make it? Because it's like you go down that path. A lot of people quit because they can't handle the pressure of, like, man, I'm wasting my time. Like, I'm putting in all this hard work. I'm doing all this, and it's not paying off.
Right.
But it's like you got to consistently do it, and then you in the league as long as Christian has been.
Crazy. So kudos to you, Christian.
Thank you. Hopefully longer, yeah. But it is true.
I sometimes think about that, dude. Like, just your walking on at Duquesne. Like, I know we joked about it earlier, but your like doing crazy, that, bro. Walking on and becoming an All-American at linebacker is like crazy. If that was all of your athletic career, like
it'd be pretty good.
That's amazing. Yeah, like, that's a crazy story.
But you didn't stop.
That tag, I'm telling you, the rare civilian thing is like you genuinely are, bro. Like
literally
civilian.
I saw Coach T yesterday. Civilian. I saw Coach T. He said, I see you working out. I'm running around. I said, thank you. I was flexing. Jess, what do you got? I know you got one more.
So, as we come to a conclusion here, what does life after football look like for you? You're starting a whole, this is part 2, right? So, like, what's that look like for you? You looking to be back more in football? Is this the journey with your son? Is this more family time? Like, what does it look like for a first-round draft pick that's done everything that you can imagine, and now it's your second part of your journey? So, what's that look like?
I feel like it's a combination of all those things, but it sounds kind of crazy to talk about life after football. This is plan B of living out my dream. So for me, like the past couple of years playing, I feel like God has been tugging on my heart to, try to get into coaching. But it's crazy because this is something that I've said to myself and to others that I would never want to be a coach.
You said it to me.
A lot of people say that.
Seeing what who I'm talking about, my D-line coach in college, seeing what he had to do as a GA, as a D-line coach.
Right.
Yeah.
And then being around the league, being around other players that talk about it, man, there's a lot of sacrifices that come with it. But I don't want to be a person that, if this is where God is calling me, I don't want to be the one to say no, I ain't got time for that.
Mm-hmm.
He's blessed me to play this game for as long as I did, to do, what a lot of people wish they could do and play at this level. So I want to be able to use, the knowledge, the experience that I've gained over the years and pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah.
So however that looks, now I'm still praying and seeing, what opportunities may come. But like you said, family time has always been important to me and my wife. But it's crazy to say coaching and family time in the same sentence, because it's almost like you'll be away if you choose that path.
Right. I wanted to ask real quick, do you see with the new generation of just where things are trending, you got social media, you got the internet, it's just a prominent resource in our lives. Do you see a potential way of doing it as a different angle, maybe doing some coaching through just, it could be through social media, it could be through, getting, building your brand,
starting a podcast.
Right. Yeah. But so is that something that, you see that there could be a different angle of it? Maybe it's not your traditional, coach sleeping at the office. It could be, maybe, could be kind of trailblaze.
That is great. Just with the new technology is so, you can do so much now and not be the coach that has his blow-up bed and sleeping at the facility. But I feel like now a lot of coaches are still stuck in that way of thinking where, it's always about what you put in. It's the time, you first one to the building, last one to leave.
Yep.
I feel like you can still get things done. So I don't know to what capacity it is. I just know I want to be somewhat involved in this football thing, just because I love the game and it's done so much for me and my family, and I feel like I got so much more to give from that perspective. But
bro, you got. I bet any kid that's watching this would want to get your advice on how to play defensive line, because the high school kids, they don't understand the details of the true work that what goes into football. I mean, there could be a couple rare occasions where kids are very detailed and they understand techniques and everything, but I would be willing to put a lot on the line to say that almost 100% of kids in this area would be
heck yeah.
If he's helping D-line, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So
I will say this, man,
you're in that space, Trey.
Bro, that's one of those feelings. If you love playing ball and you also have kids, I promise you, and I really mean this, there's no better feeling than you telling a kid what to do and it works for him and seeing his excitement. My God, it just worked. And then you see him consistently getting better because of what you taught, right? Because when you can no longer do it, it's damn, I would love to be doing it, but now I get a chance to teach you how to do it. And you're so incredible at doing it, right? Because some of these kids, they don't even have a dad at the crib to say, good job. You know what I'm saying? Or they don't have somebody patting them on the back or showing them that there's a possibility that they can do this, right? And just seeing on how you treat your son and how you talk to your son, bro, I think you'd be incredible for the high school space. The college space is difficult right now, specifically right now, but I think you would be incredible as a coach. That's why I kept saying that. I said it to you before we even got on the podcast. Right. So, yeah.
And I feel like I see and experience that with my own kids.
Right.
Like, what I'm trying to teach them or what I'm trying to show them. And then when they go out there and, exceed expectations of like myself or themselves, like that brings me so much more joy than what I do on the field.
Right.
Yep.
Like, and you like, I never thought that was possible. I'm like, I played at the highest level, made plays at the highest level. And like, that's like the greatest feeling. But seeing your kids like do it and be a part of their journey and see what they're doing and the success that they're having, like brings me so much more joy as a parent. And I know that that's the same thing if I was to pour into kids and see them get, the best out of themselves, out of their situations, and, have their own success. I think, that'll do, a lot for me if that is the career path, that comes next.
Regardless, you're gonna figure it out. But I know you're still working out like a fiend, and I see it on your IG stories and stuff, and you're still up there with cool. But we didn't even talk about last year you being with Detroit and what that was like, because I know they've had a crazy last couple of years with how the they kind of their trajectory taken off with Dan Campbell. Before we wrap up, what was that like with Dan Campbell? Like, I know you're I gotta hear what it was like playing for him. Like, he seems like a guy that's like you would like playing for. Like, he's he old school. Like, run through his face. Yeah,
that was special, man. That was so special to be a part of. The whole city, the organization. It was just electric. When I got there,
sweet.
It was Michigan was doing well. They won the championship.
Oh, yeah,
so it's like everybody was just so excited to be around, to see any football player, anything that the city had. They was just hungry for that. So to be a part of that and go and see, how special of a group the Lions had last year. Yeah, it was just a joy to be around, and it was special. I mean, going back to just looking from afar, like what made them like who they are. I think the journey of when he first got there and they went 0-, whatever, won 2 games, to like who they are now. It's the culture that he built.
Yeah,
it's like that same mentality of bite kneecaps but like you see it from afar, even from like a vet's perspective. Like you think like, oh man, they're gonna run me into the ground,
right?
Like, but you get there and this is a dude that takes care of his players. Like he demands like you to go out there and be physical and get your job done, but he does it in a way where everybody's bought in. Right. Like you go and you see all these receivers running around, blocking their butt off, like from snap to. I'm like, oh, this is like everybody's doing
Receivers?
That. Receivers, yeah. Oh yeah. See, when those little guys are doing that,
you have to buy in. Yeah.
Like the bigger guys are like, oh, we gotta do our job. We gotta run to the ball. So everybody's doing that. And when everybody's bought in, like, because if he wasn't winning and everybody wasn't buying in, it just sounds crazy.
Right.
But because he got to that point where like now everybody's bought into like, if this coach tells me to do something, I believe it's for the best interest of me and this team.
Oh, that's
and that's
huge.
how everybody's like mentality, how they like approach like practice.
Right.
And that's why when I left last year, I'm like, this is not a team that's going to like fall off.
Right.
Like they're going to be, because of the culture is like set and built, they have their pieces in place. Like they're going to be
good for a long time. Yeah.
That's huge, bro.
Yeah. Well, shit. Ty, I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to hold you much longer. I know you got 6 kids at home.
Right. Become a taxi driver right now, picking up everybody. Good thing is right down the street. So
right here.
Pick them up. Practice starts. Everything starts right around this time. So thanks for having me.
No doubt. Well, I appreciate it, boys. Fellas, thank you. Jess, Trey, Vin. Season 1. We're still in season 1. We're gonna restart the seasons once training, because I started in training camp.
That's fair.
So once training camp, that'll be season 2. So
that's fair.
Season 1, episode 30. 30 in.
30?
30.
I think so.
It's that 30-30.
Episode 30.
Wow.
30-30. That's a big one. Thank you. Thank you. Here's one. Bang! Like, share, subscribe, retweet. Is retweet a thing anymore?
It's still a
share,
react.
repost, everything.
React.
Bang! I'm out.